We are live on YouTube.
That was me. You can
Perfect.
go ahead.
All right, well, thank you and welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. We'll start the meeting today, calling the meeting to order. And before we do the roll call, I just want to confirm that Marty is attending remotely, and our colleague Diana would not be able to join us today, so it's just 3 members here. And then we can do the roll call. I'll start. Ashanan, member of the public.
Robert UC, Director, Warren County Probation.
Brian Pulaski, Warren County Public Defender.
Thank you.
And-
Next.
And there's one more member who can,
Actually, yes.
Oh, yeah, Marty Delorier, a member of the general public.
and I just wanted to note for the record that there are 2 primary members physically present at the meeting, and the 3rd member is appearing by video, so there is a quorum.
Thank you, Larry. Next on our agenda is reading and approval of the minutes from the March 24th, 2022. I can make a motion for that.
I will second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
unanimous, thank you. Before we go to the unfinished business, just wanted to see if there's any public comments or anybody who would like to address the board. Thank you. And then on the unfinished business, we have the proposed 22-23 rules and procedures for Board of Ethics that I think Larry has put together. So Mr. Elman, if you want to take this.
Sure, thank you. When the board last met, we went through a draft set of rules. There was discussion about them. We kind of went through them in each of the main areas of responsibility. I then went back and with my office, we did some amendments, further reviews to try to clarify and hopefully to account for majority of the situations and possibilities that will arise. A copy of those standing rules was published with the meeting agenda. I believe the board members all received and had an opportunity to review the rules. And what I did earlier today and what I've provided to the members first is some of the attachments. The concept being that anyone who needs to interact with the Board of Ethics or anyone that the Board of Ethics needs to interact with in their 3 core areas of responsibility, being the issuing of advisory opinions, reviewing financial disclosure statements, and addressing complaints and or investigations of violations. The core documents will be reduced to form documents for individuals who wish to interact with the Board of Ethics, and also for the Board of Ethics to interact with those individuals. And of course, as a form document, it may not include or cover every possibility, but the goal is to try to standardize and make the board more accessible and the work of the board flow hopefully easier with those attachments. My office did not provide an entire set of the attachments, in part because until the final rules are enacted, we didn't want to create forms that then would just be modified or canceled. So the second document I passed around was kind of an update of the standing rules and procedures. And I can represent to the board that the only additions, other than a couple of formatting changes, some things were underlined that shouldn't have been underlined. And there were some typographical errors that were noted and updated as well. Other than those kind of form changes, there was an addition of a paragraph 6 on the last page of text, which is page 16 of 17. And that was just a recommendation, which I hope the board will consider, concerning the attachments and the publication of the standing rules. And specifically, it would allow, the board would direct the county attorney as the legal advisor to generate the attachments A through G, and then also the ability to do tweaks and modifications to those attachments as we move forward in this process. Because as the process moves forward, we'll see little chinks or errors or things that can be written better or clearer on the attachments. The goal is not to change any of the standing rules if the standing rules are adopted today by the board, only for the county attorney to be able to modify those attachments from time to time to include creating some of them if the board enacts final rules today. With the caveat that if there's any changes to the attachments, it'll be reported to the Board of Ethics at the next board meeting. And then the second part would also be to ensure that the board authorizes or directs that the final version of these rules is forwarded to the clerk of the Board of Supervisors, so it may be published to the Board of Supervisors, and also directing that the rules be published and available on the Warren County website for public access and review as well. And then that's on page 16. And then on page 17, there was just a couple of tweaks at the top, just to confirm that this constitutes the Warren County Board of Ethics Standing Rules and Procedure, and that it would, if it's approved by majority vote of the Board of Ethics. Are there any questions, concerns, modifications, discussion any member has concerning the draft that's been provided, or the final draft, I should say, that's been provided for consideration?
Larry, I have one question. So we have under, in general, conferring with the board's counsel, are we referring to you being the board's counsel in this scenario, or should it be the county attorney?
Under the Code of Ethics, the board, there was an either or in the code as it was written. So I believe I left that provision more general to reflect the code, because it wasn't necessary. It's not 100% required that the board utilize the county attorney. And arguably there could be a situation regarding an advisory opinion, a complaint, or a financial disclosure statement, hopefully not, but it could be where I would have a conflict of interest and not be able to serve the board. So the board would have to get outside counsel. I don't know the intent behind that provision in the code. I can only assume that that was the reason it was stated more generally.
So the board's counsel doesn't have to be the county attorney, in theory.
It does not, but if it was someone else, the Board of Ethics would need funds to retain an outside counsel, which would have to be a request that would go through the Board of Supervisors. So I don't want to misspeak, but I think in a practical sense, I'm your person for now. But there could come a situation or a time where the board decided that either I could not or should not assist in a particular matter.
Okay.
That was kind of extemporaneous, off the top of my head. But again, the code is laid out a little more general, where it doesn't say that specifically just the county attorney. It's a general reference, more general reference to legal advisor is my recollection. then a reference to the county attorney, but it's not mandated, I guess would be the best way to say it.
Any other comment, discussion? Or Ryan, would you agree with that? Is that something that is good to proceed with? Okay, wonderful. All right, so do the members have any other comments, feedback, questions? That was the only one I had, so.
And you can, and I just do make the recommendation as the chair of the board, you can always open it up for public comment on the rules at this time if you wish to. You don't have to, but you certainly have that authority as the chair.
Has this document been made public so far? The most,
It's been published on the website. I think if there's a motion to move forward with a vote to accept these as the standing rules, and there's a second, then there would be a period of discussion, more formal discussion by the board. And then you could also open that up to the public if you wished to at that time.
no, thank you. And I agree. I think if this would be the right time, I would just ask the members if they have any comments before we open it to the public.
I do not.
No.
I would just recommend that someone make a motion to move forward with these proposed standing rules and that it be seconded. And then you could engage in discussion or public comment if you chose to.
Okay, and Brian, you have no other feedback, comments at this point?
No.
Okay, so I would like for somebody to make a motion for us to move forward with the Warren County Board of Ethics Standing Rules and Procedures, and to discuss further and open it up to the public as well for comments or any questions, discussions at this point.
I will make that motion.
And I'll second.
I'll third.
Perfect. All three are consensus discussions at this point. And this is open to the public as well. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, and we can move forward with this.
And what we will do at the end of the meeting is I will have final copies for the two members who are present to sign. And then I will catch up with the third member who is remote today for his signature on the final copy of the standing rules. And then as directed, my office will finalize the attachments for the rules. And we'll, per your direction, we'll forward it to the clerk for the Board of Supervisors and move forward with getting them published on the county website.
Excellent. And this, do we have to have another motion for adoption, or this is already adopted? This is good to go?
The motion you just did, it was sufficient
Okay.
to approve the standing rules.
Excellent. And I'm assuming this includes the attachments as well, that,
Well, the attachments, again, under the last section that was added, they'll be generated by the county attorney and attached, and then at the next board meeting, notice will be provided of those attachments to the members.
understood.
In fact, they'll probably go out much sooner than that once they're prepared and reviewed.
All right, so we're good to go with this. Any other unfinished business at this point? Wonderful, I'll take that as a no. That brings us to new business. Any members? Larry, do you have anything new that we need to discuss at this point?
There would be some items for discussion. They're not items for the open meeting portion of the board's work. And I can advise the board of those following the closing of this open meeting.
Okay, thank you. since we have no new business, we'll move to announcements. And at this point, scheduling the next meeting date and time, I don't think is appropriate till we know if there's any actionable items. So we'll leave that open at this point, and if we need to agree on a date and a time, we will discuss that with the county attorney and then coordinate to set up a date. That said, if there are no other comments, and again, I would like to open it up to the public if there are any public comments whatsoever. Wonderful. That said, need a motion to adjourn the public side of the meeting for us to go into proceedings that are not subject to open meetings law.
I will make a motion to adjourn for the public sector.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Bob and Marty. Any questions? Discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. Public meeting is adjourned.